Bai Yi is the leader of a proficient Awaken team called the Divine Core. Because magic exists in this world, demons and their caves appeared, which in turn caused those with special powers like Bai Yi to awaken. His team is the strongest in their organization, and they are on a mission to exterminate the Demon King, Belphegor. Belphegor is a triple S-class demon with 5 elements, making him a tough opponent. Bai Yi and the other warriors received their instructions from the gods. As they enter the cave, Bai Yi shouts to inform his squad that the mission has begun. This is the 100th high-level demonic cave the proficient team has challenged. His team includes Ling Yue, Han Xiaoling, and Lucian. Due to its predicted difficulty, the mission was designated an L-class purge operation, the highest rank. However, the team is excited for the mission, as they have been promised a vacation once they defeat Belphegor. In perfect sync, the team unleashes their powers on the attacking demons. Bai Yi leads the attack as they easily cut through the demons with swift and precise attacks. This is possible because all members of the Divine Core are L-rank warriors. Within a few minutes of coordination, the team clears the cave and kills the Demon King Belphegor. The team members excitedly talk about how easy it was. However, Lucian is skeptical about the operation. He feels it was too easy for an L-rank mission, and Bai Yi agrees. The intel he received stated the Demon King had 5 elements and a hidden skill. While he is analyzing what might be wrong, Ling Yue hugs him from behind, asking if he will treat them to a feast. Tired of her, he pushes her away while telling the team they are going to have dinner at their usual spot. Han cannot believe their captain is throwing away a chance with Ling. Just then, they notice the last member of their team is missing. He hadn't helped during the fight and was nowhere to be seen. The team isn't concerned since they have cleared the mission. Suddenly, he appears behind them, raises his hand, and declares the start of the purge operation. Han is immediately hit in the head with a projectile, killing him instantly. Shock runs through the team as they see Han on the ground, half his head gone and blood spilling onto the floor. While the team is still in shock, the traitor reveals that he was assigned the purge mission by God himself. Bai Yi notices he can't move his body, and the traitor reveals that they have been eating breakfasts laced with paralytic powder for the past month. The traitor then restrains the rest of the team with his divine skill, Forbidden Vines, restricting their movement. He explains that he was assigned the mission to wipe out the team and needed to prepare. While he is arrogantly explaining, Bai Yi and the others ask why he betrayed them. The traitor replies that it is God's decree to wipe out the L-class warriors. He tightens the grip on Bai Yi and the others, forcing them to scream in pain. They slowly lose consciousness as they cough up blood, still asking why their teammate betrayed them. Bai Yi reminds the man that the Divine Core never crossed any lines that deserved death. Since they followed all the rules, Bai Yi wants to know why they had to die. The traitor arrogantly tells them that God doesn't need a reason to kill them. He walks close to Bai Yi, and after choking him with his vines, he punches through his chest. Bai Yi cannot get over the betrayal, as he considered the traitor part of his family. The team had been together for 10 years and was practically inseparable. The traitor laughs at Bai Yi for being naive. He tells him he was never family. From the first day he joined the Divine Core, he has been on a mission for the gods. Essentially, Bai Yi and his team were just pawns. The traitor joined the team to study them and played his part well. Bai Yi and the team finally lose whatever life force they have left and collapse. The traitor stands over them and finishes Bai Yi off with a shot to the head. On that day, May 22nd, 2125, Bai Yi and his team of L-class warriors were killed. Their bodies lie on the ground as the traitor walks off to prepare for his vacation. As Bai Yi's consciousness fades, he suddenly hears a voice demanding they make a deal. He is shocked to find himself in chains in an unfamiliar environment. Standing before him is a creepy man in a suit with a dark aura. Bai Yi looks closer and realizes it's Belphegor, the Demon King. He wonders how the Demon King is alive. Belphegor teases Bai Yi, saying a high-ranking Demon King would not die that easily. They are in his soul domain, where the entire kingdom is his life force. Tired of the Demon King's chatter, Bai Yi suggests they get to business. Seeing Bai Yi's anger, the Demon King proposes a deal. Belphegor reveals that his hidden skill is life regression. He tells Bai Yi he can send him to the past, giving him a chance to change the outcome. After being reminded of how his team died, Bai Yi doesn't hesitate to agree to the Demon King's proposition. He is burning with rage and swears to kill the traitor and the gods who gave the orders. The Demon King is pleased and, in addition to helping him, grants Bai Yi another gift, Belphegor's heart. Bai Yi asks the Demon King why he is making a deal with him, but he is sent off before getting an answer. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a classroom with his teacher, Huang, yelling at him. Bai Yi has gone back 20 years to the year 2105. This was when Bai Yi was in the middle school division of the nation's Awakened Academy before his awakening. Bai Yi is surprised that he truly came back to the past. The teacher scolds him for sleeping in class, especially a class right before his awakening ceremony. As punishment, the teacher orders him to stand in the back of the classroom. Still in shock, he slowly walks to the back, staring at classmates he hasn't seen in nearly 20 years. The teacher continues the lesson, explaining the 5 elemental powers: lightning, flower, cloud, nuclear, and stellar. A person can only have one element. The teacher uses herself as an example, stating she possesses the rare cloud element. She then adds that elements are divided into 3 categories based on how they bond with the body: combat, support, and special. She explains that each team comprises the 5 elements with different roles. The school's guild team is an example, consisting of a stellar mage, a cloud warrior, a nuclear bard, and a lightning assassin. The teacher commends the students for being rare and tells them that Awakening Day is the most important day of their lives. There are nearly 100 known awakened professions, ranked from dust, lowest, to celestial, highest, with ember and abyss ranks in between. The students have just one chance at awakening, and she lets them know the status they awaken with will determine their future. After class, the students prepare for the awakening. Bai Yi runs into a classmate he calls Four Eyes because of his glasses. Four Eyes is being bullied by an annoying student, Hong Xiang Sheng, an E-rank stellar assassin, which makes him popular among his peers. Bai Yi is not surprised, as Hong was always bullying people. Before Hong can bother Four Eyes any longer, the teacher appears. She tells Hong that school is not a place to bully and rob people. Hong arrogantly tries to change the story, telling the teacher that Four Eyes bumped into him and he was only taking money as compensation. He boldly tells Huang he would have gotten her fired if not for the fact that she is attractive. After he's done, he and his friends prepare to leave. Seeing Bai Yi in his way, he shoves him aside. Bai Yi doesn't react, but instead watches the teacher check on Four Eyes. Huang is a good teacher who cares for her students despite her tough exterior. Bai Yi remembers Huang helping him in his past life after he awakened. Just then, Huang is informed it is her class's turn for the awakening chamber. Like a mother, she tells her students to stay calm to avoid injuries. In this world, there are 2 awakening methods. There is a natural awakening, like the one Hong had, which is why he is so arrogant. Natural awakening usually happens to people with strong physical constitutions and talent, activating during extreme emotional moments. The other is the artificial method, where those with potential enter the awakening chamber. The chamber is a product of knowledgeable scientists. Inside, emotions and adrenaline are intensely stimulated. This forces the dormant awakening within potential candidates to activate. Because it only happens once, it is considered the only way for someone to turn their life around. Some of Bai's classmates entered the awakening chamber before him and received nice professions. One awakened with the blue tier profession, which is the amber class. Finally, it's Bai Yi's turn, and the teacher tells him to focus while inside. Bai Yi acknowledges her instruction and proceeds into the chamber. In his past life, Bai Yi awakened as an E-rank nuclear warrior, which is a dust tier class and considered the trashiest profession. His awakening back then led to constant bullying, and it wasn't until he reached S rank that he awakened the rarest type. Upon entering the chamber, Bai Yi expects to get a trash profession as usual. However, he is shocked when the system displays an error message. The chamber activates and detects 5 elements instead of the usual one. Bai Yi feels his insides burning as the system displays the infinite awakening message. The system informs him that he can choose any class from any of the 5 elemental types as his initial class. Bai Yi learns he can upgrade the other classes once his initial class reaches its maximum potential. He is shocked when he realizes he has been granted elemental accumulation. Apparently, he can choose new classes in the future, from dust rank up to the celestial rank, while maintaining their qualities. Bai Yi also has the chance to unlock the hidden rank above celestial. It dawns on him that he can do all this because of the Demon King's gift. He was given the ability of infinite awakenings, which is unheard of. The system then says all other elemental bars will be cleared once he selects his initial class. After taking his time, Bai Yi picks his class. He steps outside to the teacher, who is excited to hear what he awakened with. Bai Yi tells Huang the disappointing news that he awakened as a nuclear warrior, the worst quality in the green class. Huang is taken aback, but being a good teacher, she still encourages him, saying great men have also emerged from the green class. She urges Bai Yi not to give up, but he humbly tells her there's no need for comfort. Hong overhears the conversation and, as expected, pokes his nose into it. He trashes Bai Yi, saying the teacher is only giving him false hope and that reality is different. Hong reminds Bai Yi that the dust class means he is at the bottom of the food chain. Hong continues his arrogant behavior, telling Bai Yi that the gods choose the strong, while the weak are to be trampled. The mention of the gods immediately triggers Bai Yi, but he remains calm as Hong continues his nonsense. He reminds Bai Yi that he will have to sit in the back row in classes because that is how society works. Apparently, celestial ranks sit at the front, followed by the abyss, ember, and finally, the dust rank. Dust rank warriors are considered trash and can only do business with other low-tier ranks. Hong adds that there is no way for Bai Yi to change his fate through hard work, calling it a waste of time. Hong moves closer to Huang to talk trash to her, but Bai Yi has had enough. He grabs the coffee cup Hong is holding and spills it on his face. Hong is shocked, not believing what just happened. He angrily asks Bai Yi what he thinks he is doing, and Bai Yi replies that his voice is like noise to him. Bai Yi's actions and words are enough to get on Hong's nerves, and he decides Bai Yi needs to be taught a lesson. He aims a punch at Bai Yi, and Huang tries to stop him, but it's too late. Unknown to him, Bai Yi is already prepared. Before the attack hits, he conjures a light sword and blocks Hong's attack. He then parries it, throwing Hong into the distance to everyone's shock. Hong crashes to the ground while Bai Yi's pose shows he used minimal effort. Hong coughs up blood as he tries to grasp what happened. The other students watching cannot believe what they just saw. Apparently, Bai Yi intentionally chose the nuclear warrior class because he is already used to it. This was his class in his past life, and he knows everything about it. Hong manages to get back on his feet and arrogantly tells Bai Yi he just got lucky. He mentions that he is an abyss rank and is completely different from trash like Bai Yi. Huang, with her keen eye, figures out that Bai Yi didn't get lucky. She realizes Bai Yi used a top-tier movement skill exclusive to the warrior class. Huang knows the parry skill allows the wielder to nullify an attack while reflecting its full force back to the opponent. She is shocked to see Bai Yi pull it off so easily as it's a skill her master couldn't manage after 10 years of hard practice. Huang is more puzzled that Bai Yi, having just awakened, already has such high combat experience. While Huang is lost in thought, Hong unleashes a short sword, ready to take Bai Yi down. Hong is now really mad and assures Bai Yi he is going to embarrass him in front of everyone. Bai Yi just stands there coolly, revealing that he intentionally picked the dust class. He knows that in the near future, all his critics will see the great side of the dust class, but by then, it will be too late. The students are hyped as the two stand in a fighting pose. However, fighting with powers is forbidden in the school. Hong's father is an important official, and his uncle is the school's dean. Bai Yi, on the other hand, has no reputable family, meaning he has everything to lose. Four Eyes fears he will be expelled if he fights Hong and asks the teacher what to do. The teacher quickly takes the initiative. She steps in, telling them to stop, but Hong is already pissed. He wants to get back at Bai Yi for humiliating him. Hong threatens to beat Bai Yi up, even if he gets on his knees and begs. He sees himself as highly talented, while Bai Yi is just a loser. The teacher also knows Hong is right since the difference in their attributes is great. Hong is an Abyss rank warrior, giving him a 200% boost in all attributes. Abyss ranks are far superior because their attributes are double that of a Dust rank upon awakening, and they can grow while the Dust rank remains stagnant. No one watching, including Four Eyes, believes Bai Yi has a chance. They assume he's going to be crushed. Four Eyes agrees Hong is a disgusting person, but has been surviving by playing the fool to avoid problems. He believes avoiding Hong is the only way to survive since a head-on clash will only lead to an unpleasant end. Once he's done weighing up his opponent, Hong runs toward him. The teacher is worried and screams at Bai Yi to watch out. She assumes Bai Yi plans to parry Hong's attack again, but knows this might not work since the skill consumes a lot of stamina. The speed at which Hong is coming will make the parry useless. Even Hong is confident he has the advantage. Bai Yi, however, just smiles. He has no interest in dodging since he has another card up his sleeve. Just as Hong reaches him, he activates the Flash Blink skill. This is an instantaneous flash effect that lets the user pass through obstacles. It's over in the blink of an eye, and before Hong knows it, Bai Yi has hit him in a vital part of his body. He coughs up blood while trying to figure out when Bai Yi got behind him. He slams the ground in frustration and humiliation while the students are left in total disbelief. None of the onlookers caught a glimpse of what Bai Yi did. The only thing they saw was Hong crashing to the ground. Even the teacher had no idea what happened. However, the class president, Chi Yin, actually saw what Bai Yi did. Chi Yin realizes that Bai Yi has mastered the highest level usage of a warrior's basic skill and applied it during the fight. Meanwhile, the students are all questioning what's wrong with Hong. On the status screen, Bai Yi notices one of his attributes increased because he defeated an opponent. However, he is not impressed with the points, considering them too few. He knows that defeating demons is the only way to get higher points and plans to do so as soon as he can. Still struggling on the floor, Hong is not ready to give up. He tells Bai Yi not to leave as he is not done with him. He grabs his knife and tries to attack Bai Yi from behind, but before he can, they hear a voice telling them to stop. It's the school dean, Hong Lin, who is Hong's uncle. Lin mocks Hong, telling him he has already made a fool of himself, and tells the students to head home. At the mention of home, it registers in Bai Yi's head that he has a home. He had forgotten because he was just reborn, and his parents had already died in his past life. He remembers that something tragic happened on this very day, and before the dean can address him, he frantically dashes off. Even Hong is shocked as Bai Yi runs from the scene. The dean is short of words but turns to Huang, telling her to get her student under control. He promises to overlook what happened, and Huang thanks him. Later, Hong follows his uncle to his office to justify what happened. He claims Bai Yi only got lucky, but his uncle screams at him, saying Bai Yi utterly humiliated him. Leon stood in the distance and witnessed Bai Yi use the flash blink. He explains to Hong that in that split second, Bai Yi found his weakest point and struck it, leaving him defenseless. The dean is pissed because even with his experience, he cannot execute the flash skill with such proficiency. The dean compares Hong's battle with Bai Yi to that of a pro gamer toying with a noob, letting his nephew know that Bai Yi is no ordinary kid. Meanwhile, Bai Yi is rushing, thinking about how important it is for him to get home. He reaches the apartment building quickly, remembering how things went down in his past life. He is ready to stop it from happening again, even if he dies trying. Bai Yi enters the house while his father watches TV and his mother does the dishes. He looks angry as he enters, and his father is surprised he came home early. Bai Yi ignores his father and focuses on his mother. With tears in his eyes, he expresses his gladness that his mother is fine. His mother is mute and communicates with Bai Yi using sign language. She tells him she made his favorite hot and sour noodles, but Bai Yi immediately says he isn't interested in noodles today. He tells her that he wants to eat pickled fish. Bai Yi's mother tries to argue, but finally gives in to her son's stubbornness. She agrees to get the pickled fish, and Bai Yi offers to follow her, but his father stops him, saying his mother can go by herself. He wonders why Bai Yi came back and didn't greet him. He stands up, gets his alcohol, and asks Bai Yi how his awakening went, eager to hear what his son awakened with. It turns out Bai Yi's father, Bai Lingshang, is a class electric warrior and is fairly strong, which makes him dangerous. Bai Yi tells his father he didn't awaken that day because things took too long. His father demands to know why he came home early if he hadn't awakened. He mentions being disappointed with his friend's son's awakening class and expects his own son to awaken with the Abyss rank. Lingsheng claims he awakened with the Abyss rank and has poured his sweat and blood into raising his son. Pissed, and with a scary aura, he demands to know what Bai Yi awakened with. Engulfed in the aura, Bai Yi lies again that he hasn't awakened. This only makes his father angrier, and he smashes a drink bottle on Bai Yi's head. When he learns Bai Yi awakened with the dust rank, he grows more furious and yells at him. Lingsheng is a violent man who can't control his emotions. In Bai Yi's past life, his father's fury and embarrassment over the dust rank turned to violence. He hit Bai Yi, but his mother stepped in as she always did. As a weak boy, Bai Yi could only watch as his father beat his mother for an hour. The beating was so severe that a blow to the head left her mentally unstable. He could only cry as he watched his mother get battered in his previous life. Now reborn, he aims to change things. He still doesn't have what it takes to challenge his father, a C-rank Abyss class warrior, and will need time to level up. The tactics he used against Hong won't work here. His father is on another level, with real combat experience. Bai Yi sadly realizes he can't touch his father yet. His father grabs him by the hair, ranting that he regrets Bai Yi was ever born. Bai Yi knows he is in a deep mess. His father came home early to wait for him and won't let him go until he's satisfied. Knowing his father's violence, he wanted his mother away from the house. Bai Yi is glad he got her out, but as he celebrates this internally, a blow lands on his head. Things worsen when someone enters the house. It is his mother, the very person he tried to keep from witnessing the violence. His mother is horrified to see Lingsheng pounding on their son's head as he lies on the ground. She had rushed back as fast as she could to feed her hungry son, which explains her quick return. Bai Yi is terrified to see his mother, wondering if history is about to repeat itself. As expected, Lingsheng turns his attention to the poor woman. In a flashback, Bai Yi sits in a prison cell. In his past life, he became the first person to advance from a green to a platinum tier. Because of this feat, his cellmate wonders why he was arrested and brought to a prison for those sentenced to die. Bai Yi's only statement was that he deserved to die because he beat his mother to death. He was sentenced to death for killing his father in revenge for what happened to his mother. Now, in the present, history is about to repeat itself. As Ling Sheng continues his madness, Bai Yi's mother runs to check on her son. Bai Yi knows he is stronger than an ordinary person who wouldn't have survived his father's punch. His mother tries to help him up, shielding him from his angry father. Ling Sheng continues his rant, telling his wife he was happy when she was pregnant. Since his siblings couldn't produce a son, he believed he was destined to restore the family's glory. However, he is disgusted by what followed. His son, his great hope, awakened with the worst class, dust rank. Ling Sheng screams at his wife, reminding her Bai Yi can't advance because it is a trash class. He blames his wife's genes for the result. Ling Sheng loses control and raises his hand to hit her, but Bai Yi won't allow it. He uses Flash Blink to get past his mother and block his father's attack. Ling Sheng is thrown backward and smiles heroically. His mother is worried, knowing what is coming next. Ling Sheng gets to his feet and arrogantly walks toward his son, intending to beat him to a pulp. Bai Yi plans to use the parry attack, but before he can activate the skill, his father's punch breaks through his sword and hits his face. Bai Yi spills blood, bitterly realizing the huge power gap between them. Before he can breathe, another punch comes. He blocks it with his hands, but the shock still injures his ribs. Ling Sheng prepares another powerful strike to put his son in his place, mad that he has the guts to defy him. Bai Yi sees the punch coming, but can't dodge or block it. He only covers his head with his hands as the blow lands. Ling Sheng tells Bai Yi he deserves to die for awakening with a useless class. Yet, Bai Yi remains standing, unwilling to let history repeat itself. Seeing Bai Yi still up makes Ling Sheng angrier. He mocks him, asking if he thinks he's the real deal just because he awakened. Ling Sheng grabs a chair, ready to smash his son. Bai Yi's mother holds him as they brace for the hit. Just then, a commanding voice outside demands they open the door. Ling Sheng is disappointed by the interruption. Bai Yi's mother holds her son, relieved by the break. However, the knock is no surprise to Bai Yi, as he arranged it. Ling Sheng acts tough as he opens the door, but his attitude changes when he sees who is there. Two tough-looking men stand at the door and ask Ling Sheng what took him so long. The two men are inspectorate investigators, Liang and Chen Jin-woo. Liang is the red A-rank deputy captain, while Chen Jin-woo is a blue C rank. Ling Sheng is shocked to see them, and, while trembling, asks what they are doing at his house. Liang shows him a picture of a wanted criminal named Snow, asking Ling Sheng if he has seen him. Apparently, the office received a call that Snow was seen in the building, so the police are conducting a house-to-house search. Ling Sheng is relieved to hear that he is not the reason for their visit. He smiles, telling them he has not seen Snow. Since Snow is popular and always on TV, he assures them he would report it if he ever ran into him. Just then, Liang notices Bai Yi is in bad shape and asks Ling Sheng what happened. Ling Sheng lies that his son was careless and fell while buying groceries. He taps Liang on the shoulder, telling him not to worry about such trivial matters. Before he can finish, Bai Yi cuts in, telling the officers his father is lying. Bai Yi boldly states that his father hit him, which is why he is all bloodied. 18 minutes earlier, Bai Yi had used the apartment's phone booth to call the police, saying he saw Snow in the building. He knew they would not joke with any news concerning Snow, but he didn't expect them to arrive so fast. He is glad they came, as it bought him enough time. Ling Sheng tries to dismiss his son's words, lying that he doesn't have what it takes to beat his own son. However, Bai Yi counters with the truth. He tells the officers his father hit him in the head with a wine bottle and on the arm with a stool. Bai Yi continues pointing out where his father hit him, telling the officers they can evaluate his body for injuries. He takes it further by quoting their rule of law, stating that awakeners who cannot control their violent behavior and harm others are to be detained in the awakener prison for 15 days. The cops are shocked and impressed by how knowledgeable Bai Yi is. Ling Sheng turns to look at his son with contempt. With everything Bai Yi has said, Liang has no choice but to arrest Ling Sheng. The cops immediately grab him, and when he tries to reach for his son, they tell him to calm down, or they will use force. Ling Sheng is grabbed out of the house, but he threatens to wipe his son out once he is back. Bai Yi ignores him and closes the door as he is dragged away. Once they are safe, Bai Yi's mother runs over to hug him. Bai Yi is relieved that he was able to save his mother. However, he has 15 days to get stronger and promises his mother that Ling Sheng will never touch her again. Before his father was taken, Bai Yi managed to grab the key to his safe. He knows his father has something important inside, as this is how he climbed from E rank to C rank. Later, Bai Yi heads to the safe and unlocks it. The contents were a secret Bai Yi learned after his father died in his past life. He opens the safe and brings out a scary blade. Bai Yi plans to take on the demon caves using the blade. Since demon caves are the only way to upgrade his class, he knows he has no choice but to enter the labyrinth. However, there is a problem. The demon caves are under the jurisdiction of the gods, and only guild members can enter. The ones Bai Yi can currently enter are managed by the school. He can also access a hidden demon cave that he knew about from his past life. Soon, Bai Yi makes his way to the hidden demon cave, determined to surpass everyone as fast as he can. Meanwhile, in the inspectorate's detention room, officers talk about the snow sighting being a false alarm. They aren't mad, as they are always ready to check out anything related to snow. While they discuss, Ling Sheng tries to bribe them for his release. Liang is disgusted by Ling Sheng's behavior, especially since he was a guild member. The officers tell him things will get worse if bribery is added to his charges. They urge him to stay put for the night before being sent to the Awakener prison the next morning. Ling Sheng's rage is directed entirely at his son. Since Bai Yi knows his father will be out in 15 days, he is preparing to take on the demon caves to level up. Demon caves are another space parallel to their world, accessed by a door that appears out of thin air. Once discovered, they are mostly taken over by guilds because they house demonic beasts and ores, making them the best place for awakeners to improve. However, a team is usually required to enter since the caves are dangerous. The one Bai Yi is about to take on was only discovered 5 years later in his past. An F-rank cave requires 3 E-rank warriors, while an E-rank cave needs a 5-person team of 3 E-rank and 2 D-rank warriors. Bai Yi is confident the cave he is about to challenge is an F-rank. The demon caves are known to be dangerous, but since Bai Yi has no other choice, he must take on the cave by himself. He knows why he needs to get stronger as soon as possible. Armed with the weapon from his father's safe, he proceeds into the demon cave. The area is filled with ice and snow, and Bai Yi figures he is in the domain of a cloud-type magic beast. As he strolls through the domain, he soon runs into a sleeping ice bear. In front of it are human skeletons, showing that others might have entered before. While he is looking around, a bloodthirsty forest wolf appears and almost gets him. The E-rank wolf is still stronger than Bai Yi. Bai Yi leaps backward to avoid the wolf, but it comes at him again. He is able to block the wolf's teeth with the blade. Bai Yi then goes on the attack, taking down the wolf with a single slash. This is possible thanks to the A-rank weapon he is wielding. It is a weapon not available on the market, which is why his father kept it hidden. With this weapon, Bai Yi can close the skill gap between him and the beasts. The weapon is known as the Hunwu blade, made from Hunwu stone. It is so powerful it cuts through iron like butter. However, even with the weapon, Bai Yi knows he needs at least 4 strikes to take down beasts because of their defense. He casually teases about how he misses being an L-rank awakener. He learns he needs to defeat 20 wolves to upgrade a level on his skill set. Since he is fighting in an ice area, his cloud element will receive the upgrades. It will take him 10 upgraded levels to move from E rank to D rank. Soon, Bai Yi is surrounded by a pack of wolves attracted by the smell of blood. This is a perfect, yet dangerous opportunity to level up. The wolves gang up on him, but he relies on 2 skills: dodge and counterattack. He maneuvers his way around without taking damage while dealing damage to the beasts. He takes down the first pack, with each kill giving him 52 experience points. He also acquired Wolf's Fangs. After taking out the pack, he has the Wolf King to deal with. Using his agility, he delivers several cuts to the wolf's body, giving it no chance to heal. The Wolf King dies, and Bai Yi earns 56 points for the kill. Because he defeated the Wolf King, he also earned a Snow Wolf Diamond. After clearing out the first pack, Bai Yi has enough experience to upgrade to D rank. He also earned 12 attribute points and allocates them as he sees fit. He notices he is already tired after taking out just 20 wolves and is not impressed with how weak E-rank bodies are. He also knows he needs a dimensional backpack to store his loot. Bai Yi admits that taking on a demonic cave solo is difficult. The Snow Wolf Diamond he earned is a durable jewel used to craft special weapons and is expensive on the market. He knows the only way to access a high-tier demonic cave is to join the Divine Core. Since awakening schools are under the guilds, they often send representatives to scout prospective warriors. It is every student's dream to graduate and join a guild. But if a student is kicked off their team, their career is likely over, which is what happened to Bai Yi's father and why he is stuck at C rank. Looking at his current situation, Bai Yi realizes he will burn even more stamina taking on the beasts alone. He is already exhausted. Before he knows it, another pack of wolves appears. He decides to use a trick he has up his sleeve. He runs, and the wolves follow. He leads them into a forest where he cuts down trees to give himself space. This disturbance attracts the forest's other beast, the cloud python. Now Bai Yi has wolves and pythons to deal with. To get out of the situation, Bai Yi kicks his plan into motion. He lets off a loud explosion, hoping it wakes one particular beast. His plan works as the sleeping frost bear angrily emerges from its den. The enraged bear attacks whatever it sees. The wolves and pythons are not safe from the bear's rage as they all get smashed. While the bear is rampaging, Bai Yi cleans up from behind, earning a bunch of experience points. He continues with these tactics, earning points and obtaining python fangs and wolf fangs. Bai Yi uses the beast's weakness against them. They are aggressive but lack brains. By using the bear against the others, he conserves stamina. However, he still needs to finish them off to gain experience. After fighting for some minutes, Bai Yi is exhausted. He decides to move to the next phase of his plan. Once the beasts are lined up, he hits the ice floor and breaks it to kill them. He has been analyzing the terrain and noticed they are on an ice bridge suspended between two cliffs. This brilliant plan takes out almost all the beasts in one go. Bai Yi is exhausted but still needs to handle the frost bear and the remaining wolves. The system unlocks a new title for him, 1 against 100. With this title, his stats increase by 10% when fighting multiple enemies. However, Bai Yi is not worried about the frost bear yet. He knows every cave has a final boss and expects it to show up. He has caused enough chaos and wonders why the boss hasn't appeared. Suddenly, an ice spell hits the area. Before he can react, he and the beasts in front of him are hit. Bai Yi realizes his assumption was wrong. The final boss had already awoken and was waiting for the perfect moment when everyone was exhausted. Bai Yi and the beasts are gathered in one spot, making it hard to escape. The spell hits him, and his legs are already frozen. He realizes the ice bridge was part of the boss's trap. The boss put everything in place to show up and reap all the rewards. It dawns on Bai Yi that the cave's final boss is intelligent. The final boss is the Kalen demon monkey, which also has other apes as guards. Almost all of Bai Yi's body is covered in ice, preventing movement while the demon monkey wears an evil smirk. Apparently, the cave is a high-risk one that requires a group of E-rank warriors. With his body completely frozen, Bai Yi fears he might go into hypothermia, which would be his end. The monkey boss raises his hand, points at Bai Yi, and orders his monkeys to attack. Realizing he is trapped, Bai Yi resorts to using the parry skill. Since the parry skill requires precise timing, Bai Yi waits until the hit is about to land. He activates the parry and shatter skills, breaking the ice and blocking the incoming attack. Though temporarily free, Bai Yi knows he is in trouble because he has drained a big chunk of his stamina. The shatter skill lets an awakened use all their energy to break free from control effects, but it consumes a large amount of stamina. Bai Yi figures the demon monkey will need time before using an ultimate skill again, and he must kill it before then. The demon monkey then orders the ice bears and wolves to attack Bai Yi. Since the nucleo element has issues against the cloud element, Bai Yi knows his chances of winning are low. He is low on stamina and getting exhausted. The demon monkey sits like a proper villain while ordering his minions around. Bai Yi knows he will die if more beasts show up. While trying to think of a way out, he is attacked by one of the monkey beasts, which tries to smash him with a club. Bai Yi only manages to block the attack but is pushed back, his knee scraping the ice floor as he tries to maintain balance. The sudden attack causes Bai Yi to lose all his strength, putting him at a serious disadvantage. The ice bear's constant screaming weakens him further. One bear throws an ice boulder at Bai Yi, but he manages to cut it down. However, the cold doesn't help as his stamina has almost hit 0. Once the demon monkey notices Bai Yi is nearly drained, he uses another ultimate skill, the Ice Storm. Bai Yi is shocked, not expecting the monkey's ultimate to have such a fast cooldown. His eyes light up in horror as he stares at the incoming attack. This reminds him that in his past life, he faced life-or-death situations and developed a sense for recognizing opportunities. Bai Yi figures that in his current state, he has 2 options. He can stay and fight, but since his stamina is at its limit and he continues to take damage, he will not survive. The second option is simple: run away. Bai Yi wastes no time picking option 2 and leaps off the cliff. However, the demon monkey hits him with an ice spell that catches his feet, causing him to lose balance and fall instead. With ice formed around him, Bai Yi crashes into the river below. While he is fighting for his life, his mother enters his room back home. She thinks Bai Yi is still sleeping but is shocked to find the room empty. Bai Yi had left home the day before, a Friday, and now it is Saturday. His mom finds a note from her son saying he went to a friend's house. Bai Yi urges her not to worry, but the note only makes her more anxious since she knows he would have told her in person instead of leaving a note. She wonders what is going on with him since he has been acting differently since the day before. The woman is uneasy with several things running through her head. Back in the dungeon, Bai Yi survived the fall. Jumping off the cliff was also part of his plan. He remembers that nearly 100 beasts fell into the river when he broke the ice bridge earlier. However, he only got rewards for 40, which means the others survived. Bai Yi coughs in pain as he drags himself out of the cold river. Though he survived, he is running on very low stamina. He is suffering from blood loss, low temperature, and is in a completely weakened state. His body is also severely damaged from falling from a high place. Without a doubt, Bai Yi knows he is at his limit. As he lies there, he wonders if this is truly the end. Before he knows it, he is surrounded by beasts like the ice bears, ready to finish him off. As they get closer, Bai Yi reminisces. He remembers his time with the Divine Core, the good moments with his teammates, and his mother's care. He also remembers his father's wickedness and the pain of the traitor's betrayal. A voice in his head tells him this is the end. This is enough for Bai Yi to clench his fists and decide it is not over. He manages to stand up. Just as an ice bear is about to finish him, he raises his hand and stops its giant teeth from closing in. Bai Yi is determined that the bad things from his past life will not be repeated. He has already died once, losing everything. This time, he plans to turn it all around. With newfound determination, Bai Yi smashes the ice bear and throws it into the distance. He lets out a cold breath and grabs his short sword again. His desperate attempt triggers something that can push for a class advancement. Bai Yi stands with a yellow aura swirling around his body, surrounded by monsters. His decision to solo a dungeon and face dangerous beasts was to make himself feel the desperation from his past. This feeling triggers an adrenaline rush, which he hoped would cause a class advancement. Though he almost died, he didn't meet the conditions. However, instead of a class advancement, he learns a new ultimate skill, Nucleo Holy Swordsman. It is well ahead of its time and level. While he didn't advance his class, the skill will be very handy. With this skill and adrenaline, Bai Yi is brimming with energy. He points his sword at the beasts, telling them it is time to be wiped out. One beast moves, and the others follow. Bai Yi remains unfazed and prepares his short sword. As they get closer, he unleashes a swirling, dangerous speed attack called Sanctuary that cuts through all the surrounding beasts in one slash. He cuts them down as notifications pop up, telling him he has defeated ice bears and forest wolves and showing the experience points acquired. After taking out the monsters, he acquires items like Icefield Beasthide, Proud Barebone, and Bloodtooth. The Sanctuary skill clears his fatigue and restores his lost stamina. In addition, Bai Yi gets an upgrade and obtains the Icefield Wanderer title. This provides resistance to cloud element creatures plus a 100 damage reduction, which is exactly what he needs. Bai Yi stares at the top of the cliff, promising to wipe out the rest of the beasts, including their boss. With the flood of experience points, he upgrades to level 9 of the E-class. Bai Yi immediately activates the Icefield Wanderer effect to resist the cold. The Sanctuary skill also allows him to store damage from attacks and then release it on a group of enemies at once. However, he can only use this after taking a lot of damage. He is thankful that the skill restored his stamina. Bai Yi then remembers he needs to finish quickly and return home before his mother worries. He climbs the cliff and makes his way to the demon monkey boss's palace. The demon monkey is protected by ice beasts, but Bai Yi doesn't care and bursts into the palace. After taking out more beasts, he is now at the last level of the E-class, level 10. Meanwhile, it is now 11:00 p.m., and Bai Yi's mother is seriously worried. She has prepared food, but she is left to wonder where her son is. She prays that he is fine. Now, in the boss's palace, Bai Yi takes out the ice bears guarding it and is left to fight the boss's personal guards, the scary monkeys. The monkey boss looks unafraid and orders his guards to take Bai Yi out. One monkey jumps at Bai Yi, but he simply blocks and then easily slices it in half. The monkey boss sees this and realizes things might be dire. He angrily unleashes his ultimate, the Ice Storm Assault, but it has no effect on Bai Yi, who is now immune. Bai Yi dashes toward the monkey boss. In desperation, the boss raises his staff, activating a spell that causes the jewel on it to glow. This puts the other monkeys in a hyper mode, but Bai Yi doesn't see them as a threat. He only sees them as beasts he needs to kill to reach D-class. Bai Yi cuts through the beasts like they are nothing before relieving the monkey boss of one of its arms. The boss screams in pain as blood spills from the severed limb. Before it can do anything else, it finds Bai Yi looking at it with a death stare. Bai Yi unleashes a series of cuts on the boss's body, defeating it. A notification pops up, telling Bai Yi he has successfully defeated the D-Class Cloud Element user, the king of the Azure Forest, and gained 1,000 experience points. He also advances to the D-Class Nucleo Warrior. After this, he sees items to pick up. Because of the experience he gathered fighting a Cloud Element enemy, the system tells him a new profession is about to awaken. Bai Yi is shocked, having forgotten about this. A red and blue aura emanates from his body. He awakens the Cloud Element Mage profession and can now switch professions at any time. Bai Yi is excited to have awakened a red profession, even at E-Class. Unlike the Nucleo class with its 100% bonus, the red class comes with 200%. The red class's strength is already on the same level as his current class. Bai Yi then picks up the mage weapon, the Stone of Magic, and finds a magic pouch that can hold 20 items. While he loots, the remaining beasts can only watch. After he is done, Bai Yi looks up and realizes some beasts survived. Since he just awakened a new profession, he decides to try it on them. He switches to mage mode, a red aura coming from his eyes as he prepares to annihilate them. It is now 5 a.m. the next morning, a Sunday. Bai Yi's mother hasn't slept and is sitting in the living room hoping for her son's return. Just then, Bai Yi opens the door, and she immediately stands up. Bai Yi enters, smiling, apologizing for making her worry. His mother runs over and hugs him tightly while crying. Bai Yi is shocked to see she has been waiting for him and hasn't eaten. He then tells her he has good news. While leaving the dungeon, Bai Yi gathered valuable items thanks to the magic pouch he found. After leaving, he meets an ore broker. The broker offers to buy the ore for 800, but Bai Yi counters with 8,000. This shocks the broker. Bai Yi doesn't argue and just takes the ore back. The broker is forced to increase his bid to 2,000, but Bai Yi counters again, demanding 5,000. The broker proposes 3,000 as his final offer. As he says this, Bai Yi starts increasing the price, and it quickly appreciates to 7,000. The broker is still arguing, but when he realizes Bai Yi won't stop, he quickly agrees to take the ore for 7,000. Since Bai Yi is experienced with brokers from his past life, he knows how to deal with them. From the money he got selling the ore, he rents an apartment for his mother. In his past life, his mother fell from one problem to another, but now, Bai Yi just wants to take care of her and make sure she enjoys herself. He concludes the apartment deal in front of his mother, shocking her with the high price. By 8 p.m. that Sunday, they settled into the new apartment. Bai Yi is happy to see his mother smiling, as it has been a long time since he saw her with such an expression. Even with a new apartment and moving up from E to D class, he knows he can't let his guard down because of his father. Bai Yi wants to settle the issue with his father before going after his main target. He then wears a magic stone on his right arm that increases an area of effect magic by 50%. At the same time, Hong is training hard to surpass his limit, jumping from one labyrinth to another without rest. Even when his sister tries to convince him to rest, he slaps her hand away. Hong is prepared to do anything to stay on top. Elsewhere, an unknown person checks the list of newly awakened students, disappointed by the lack of exceptional talent. The next morning at 7:30 a.m., Bai Yi's mother had prepared food for him. Bai Yi is shocked to realize he is running late. He asks why she didn't wake him, and she replies that he was resting so well she couldn't bear to disrupt him. She pats him on the head, urging him to eat slowly. With his mother's comfort, Bai Yi calms down, realizing it has been a long time since he slept peacefully or had an unhurried breakfast. Just then, his mother asks if there is anything he wants, like a toy or a book. Bai Yi is surprised by the sudden offer of gifts. His mother reminds him that his birthday is next Friday, June 5th. It dawns on Bai Yi that she is right, but he totally forgot, as it's been too long since he last celebrated. After his mother died in his past life, no one celebrated his birthday again, and he gradually forgot about it. As he eats, Bai Yi racks his brain to think of anything he wants, but is left confused since he already has what he truly desires. His next and most important goal is to kill the traitor who caused his and his team's death. When Bai Yi gets to school, he learns they are preparing for the combat simulation. The teacher stands before the newly awakened, telling them about it. He explains that the academy is supervised by the Divine Guild, who will be watching their every move. The combat simulation is the best way to impress them. He tells them it will serve as the school graduation assessment and will be broadcast live. The best performer will get to participate in a training camp with the high school division. The camp happens only once a year and is the best opportunity to connect with the Divine Guild. The school usually organizes the best students from middle and high schools to travel together to the Shanghai Nation, where the Divine Guild headquarters is. Bai Yi remembers the Shanghai Nation as where he met his master and where the traitor was born. However, the traitor never met his master since he joined the Divine Corps after him. Bai Yi knows he must get high scores in the assessment to get into the training camp, giving him more chances to find the traitor. The simulation battle is this Friday, 4 days away. While some are excited, people like Four Eyes are worried because it takes place inside a real labyrinth. The teacher then points to the training room for their first session, physical conditioning in the gravity room, where everyone must start with 10 sets of shuttle runs. Surprisingly, Bai Yi walks up to his teacher, saying he doesn't want to use the recommended training room. This shocks the teacher and the other students. The teacher tells Bai Yi not to get ahead of himself just because he defeated Hong, believing he is trying to skip training. But Bai Yi clarifies that he wants more specialized training. The teacher is confused and asks if Bai Yi is insinuating there is a problem with his methods. Bai Yi reveals that physical conditioning is necessary for most awakeners, so the gravity room isn't a bad option. However, he believes the shuttle run is only best for classes like assassins and warriors, which require speed and coordination, and not everyone needs this. He tells the teacher that classes like mages and chanters are better suited to train in the element room. He adds that everyone should be allowed to train differently since their classes are used differently. The teacher hears this and points out that Bai Yi is basically teaching him his job. Qian overhears and is shocked. She realizes Bai Yi's proposed training method is the same one a Divine Corps training officer, Mr. Dong Yang, mentioned. However, it's a new method, and she would only know about it because her father brought home the videotape. Qian is surprised that Bai Yi came up with the same idea. Specs tells Bai Yi to avoid being blunt with the teacher, who is the school's most authoritative trainer. Instead of getting angry, the teacher pats Bai Yi on the shoulder, smiles, and says the training method he mentioned is interesting. The teacher then explains that with so many students, it would be difficult to cater to everyone's specific needs in the short term. He points out that the combat simulation assesses student performance, and if done wrong, it could derail a student's entire life. Bai Yi remembers that though he had a bad family, his teachers supported him in his past life, helping him grow into a responsible person. He turns to the teacher, assuring him he won't let him down. The teacher then asks Bai Yi how he intends to train as a nuclear warrior. Bai Yi suggests turning on the elemental suppression in the element room to its maximum setting. This shocks the teacher and even Specs. Bai Yi lies, saying that even though he is a warrior, he wants to balance his abilities to challenge his weaknesses, hiding the fact that he wants to train his mage profession. Just then, Qi Yin raises her hand, saying she is also interested in practicing elemental control. The teacher gives in and tells the two to do as they please, but urges them to do their best during the final assessment. Qi Yin walks up to Bai Yi, suggesting they practice together, but he quickly tells her he is entering a private room, rejecting her. Qi Yin claims the rejection has fired her up to do her best. While training in the elemental room, Bai Yi has some difficulty, as he is still new to the mage profession, but plans to master it in the short time he has. He also plans to hide his ability to switch professions since the school is under the god's supervision, and every student's move is watched. He wants to avoid becoming an early target for the gods. Meanwhile, Qi Yi trains with only 1% elemental suppression, thinking she can rival Bai Yi's strength. Bai Yi is also not ready to interact with his classmates, wanting to protect them. After school, Specs and his friend catch up to Bai Yi, telling him to slow down. The two were Bai Yi's best friends in middle school in his past life. Because they were all weak, they shared the same fate of being bullied. Having his weak friends around was the only happy moment he had in middle school. Now aiming for revenge, Bai Yi doesn't think he needs social interactions. To get away, he gets on his bicycle and rides off, leaving them behind. They can't believe he ran off again, as they were supposed to be an unbreakable trio. Specs points out that Bai Yi has totally changed since the awakening, now seeming like a confident person. Moments later, they catch up to Bai Yi, who is waiting for them. He tells Specs to get his lungs checked when he is free. The two are happy he finally stopped, but Bai Yi shatters their hopes again, telling them they are too slow to keep up with him. He gets on his bike and rides off, leaving the two in shock. In his past life, Specs was suddenly diagnosed with a lung disease and passed away shortly after. Bai Yi wants Specs to stay alive and healthy, even if they don't become friends. On the other hand, Specs believes that Bai Yi is still the same person, even though he now appears cold. At the recruit training ground in the Shanghai nation, two men talk about a new recruit who has been performing well. The recruit has the same hair as the traitor who betrayed Bai Yi and his team. That evening, when Bai Yi returned home, he told his mother to avoid going out alone. He assures her that he will always return home early with groceries. Bai Yi is worried because he knows the environment is not entirely safe for his mother and he needs to provide a better place for her. At the Awakeners prison, Ling Sheng is already making a deal with one of the chefs. The next day, Tuesday, Bai Yi has managed to familiarize himself with how mages operate, realizing the key is casting time and calculating the required elemental power. While he is pushing the training room to its limits, his friends are struggling with shuttle runs. The training continues the next day, and afterward, Specs and his friend ask Bai Yi to join them for dinner. As expected, he bluntly refuses, saying he needs to return home early. However, he leaves his friends with some advice, telling them a secret technique for archers. The friend, who is an archer, rejoices after hearing the advice. By Thursday, Specs visits the clinic, where the doctor tells him he is very lucky to have come in. The doctor informs him that a fast-growing parasitic tumor is in his lungs. The doctor tells Specs to schedule surgery at a major hospital soon to have it removed. Specs thanks the doctor and assures him he will make an appointment. As he leaves, he remembers that Bai Yi was the one who warned him about his lungs. He wonders how Bai Yi knew there was a problem, which adds to the mystery surrounding him. Just then, he hears some guys talking about Hong. Hong has reached E-Class Level 4, and they believe he will be the best performer in the assessment. It turns out his family has a private labyrinth, which Hong has been using to level up as part of their private army. This is when the trio mentions something that catches Specs' attention. Hong is planning to teach Bai Yi a lesson after school for what happened last weekend. The trio talks about how pissed Hong is, and that he is even planning to kill Bai Yi. Hong has armed himself with a weapon to be more dangerous. Specs hears this and realizes his friend is in grave danger. Worried, Specs swings into action, deciding that helping Bai Yi is the best thing he can do. He dashes through the school hallway, thinking about the useless tricks Hong might try. Specs worries that Hong might have gathered his goons to help beat up Bai Yi. He suddenly stops, thinking of how useless he will be even if he tries to help. He wants to back down, but then he remembers that Bai Yi helped him. He considers Bai Yi his brother and is prepared to sacrifice himself to save him. Specs makes his way to the school armory and breaks the lock to get in. He is conflicted about breaking the rules but can't get the idea that Bai Yi saved him out of his head. He pushes open the door, prepared to die to save his friend. He checks out the weapons on the rack and picks a giant axe. Suddenly, he hears Chi Yin's voice behind him asking why he is breaking into the armory. Specs wants to stay quiet, but Chi Yin presses him, asking what is wrong since he looks like he's in a hurry. Specs then screams at Chi Yin that he needs to go save Bai Yi's life. Meanwhile, Bai Yi has noticed he is being followed, but he reaches an alley before telling whoever it is to step out. Hong steps out, looking menacing with a sword in his hand. He tells Bai Yi that he is there to settle their score. Bai Yi turns with a pitiful face, asking Hong if he thinks he has what it takes to defeat him. Hong replies that he is positive he can take Bai Yi down. He says this while dashing toward Bai Yi with his skill called Accelerate. Hong claims he has been training non-stop since the incident. In addition to accelerating, Hong activates another skill to appear behind Bai Yi. Just before he can land a hit, Bai Yi moves very fast out of the way. Once there is an opening, he grabs Hong and smashes him to the ground. Hong gasps in pain, realizing Bai Yi's attack power is far higher than his own. He cannot believe this is possible, and Bai Yi tells him he is not the only one who has been training. Bai Yi whips out his dagger and smashes it into the ground beside Hong's head. Hong finally realizes that Bai Yi is well ahead of him in power and strength. They may be the same age, but Hong figures out the menacing figure in front of him is someone he can never surpass. Hong is shocked that Bai Yi leveled up too and screams at him, asking what his level is. He refuses to believe it, asking how he did it. Hong reveals he engaged in extra training just to get to level 4, which took a lot of hard work. He can't believe Bai Yi is still faster. Bai Yi smiles when Hong mentions how hard he has been training. Bai Yi simply asks him if he has died before. With a knife to his throat, Hong tells Bai Yi to just kill or torture him. Hong believes Bai Yi has been looking down on him, and Bai Yi admits this. However, he assures Hong that he doesn't actually hate him that much. Bai Yi is impressed that Hong followed him and didn't ambush him or call his friends to gang up on him. Bai Yi understands that Hong was just trying to test his own strength. Hong screams at Bai Yi to kill him now, or risk dying at his hands later. He doesn't want Bai Yi to pretend he can see through him. Bai Yi thinks again and tells Hong he is taking back what he said about not hating him too much. Meanwhile, Specs and Chi Yin have arrived but are hiding and watching. They are surprised to see Bai Yi has handled the situation without their help. They see Bai Yi sitting on Hong like he is a nobody, and Hong isn't even moving. Bai Yi then tells Hong that he has a deal for him. He lets Hong know there is a way for him to get stronger, but in return, he has to do something for him. The next day, Friday, is the assessment day. The teacher tells the gathered students that it is time for the combat simulation. He explains that even though it is a simulation, they will enter a real labyrinth. Although most of the labyrinth's power has been sealed, there are still dangers. The teacher urges them to act according to their capabilities since there are many dangerous monsters inside. To ensure the students are safe, high school students have been assigned to guide them. The seniors will not fight, but are expected to intervene in the face of danger. A team of 4 to 5 people will be formed with a senior student leading them. They can choose between E-class and F-class dungeons. However, the E-class dungeons are much more difficult, and the teacher urges them not to try one if they don't have the strength. He adds that failing the challenge will result in the loss of academic credits, showing how important it is. After giving the instructions, the teacher tells them to start choosing their dungeon level. He asks the students to raise their hands if they want to challenge the E-class dungeon. A total of 8 students, including Chi Yin and Hong, raised their hands for the E-class dungeons. Specs is surprised that some students are crazy enough to take on the dangerous dungeons. Out of 180 students, the teacher announces that 8 have volunteered. He lets them know the rest will be randomly distributed to the F-class dungeons. However, Chi Yin notices that Bai Yi didn't raise his hand. Just then, Bai Yi walks up to the teacher, saying he would like to challenge the school's D-class Spirit Jade dungeon. Everyone is stunned when Bai Yi makes this declaration. When Bai Yi declared he would challenge the school's D-class Spirit Jade dungeon, a shocked silence filled the room. His teacher stared, speechless at the absurd request. Among the stunned students, Hong Qiansheng and the class president, Chi Yin, looked on in disbelief. The teacher quickly recovered and told Bai Yi he must be joking, stating that no one challenges a D-class dungeon right away and refused his request. However, Bai Yi's intense gaze showed he was completely serious. Just then, the dean of the junior high division, Hong Liang, stepped forward. He explained that D-class dungeons are very dangerous and normally for high school students who have reached D-class or higher. Unfazed, Bai Yi countered that the combat simulation rules allow students to choose their own level. He continued, saying the school's purpose is to find exceptional talent for the Divine Guild, and the criteria for such talent include bravery and strength. Bai Yi then asked if the dean really intended to deny him the chance to demonstrate those qualities. Cornered by Bai Yi's logic, Dean Hong Liang gave in slightly but presented a new problem. All dungeons must be entered as a team. Bai Yi immediately replied that he could do it alone. This angered the dean, who declared that solo entry is forbidden by school rules to ensure student safety. Just as the situation hit a stalemate, Chi Yin raised her hand and confidently announced she would also choose the D-class dungeon, her face looking determined. Dean Hongliang, clearly agitated, questioned Chi Yin's decision, asking if she had lost her mind and worrying how he would face her father if she got into trouble. Chi Yin stood her ground, explaining that she also wanted the highest possible score and was eager to test her abilities. With a confident wink, she turned to Bai Yi and offered to team up. To her complete shock, Bai Yi bluntly refused, saying he planned to clear the dungeon by himself. Before Chi Yin could react to being rejected again, the teacher stepped in, placing a hand on both of their heads. He stated that Bai Yi's refusal was invalid, forcing them to form a team. The dean, sighing in frustration, reluctantly agreed, muttering about how arrogant the new students had become. The teacher then pointed out a new problem. Since their team only had 2 people attempting a dangerous dungeon, it was unlikely any senior students would volunteer to supervise them. Just as it seemed their challenge was impossible, a hand shot up from the group of seniors. A charismatic young man stepped forward with a charming smile, declaring that the flowers of the motherland always need someone to protect them. The teacher's expression turned to relief, and he told the volunteer that with him there, he could finally rest easy. Chi Yin, now next to Bai Yi, recognized the senior who had volunteered. She told Bai Yi his name was Zeeling and mentioned he had almost joined the prestigious Ultimate School team. As Zealing approached them with a smirk, Bai Yi wondered who this person was and what that team even was. When Zealing was in front of him, Bai Yi simply stated that he had never heard of him. This comment amused Zealing, who thought to himself that Bai Yi was just an ignorant peacock, eager to show off without understanding his limits. With the final team ready, the teacher addressed all the students. He announced the teams were assigned and the combat simulation was officially beginning, creating a large glowing red portal. He explained their progress in the dungeons would be live-streamed by professional drones, monitoring their every move. With a final word of encouragement, he urged them to do their best and see who would get the highest score. As the students prepared to enter, Bai Yi stared forward with intense determination. The Awakened Academy was established on the site of a massive, conquered demon cave. Over time, this major cave created many smaller, lower-level portals within the school grounds, used by both junior high and high school divisions. These new dungeons, with power levels mostly between F and D class, served as perfect training grounds for the students. As students like Specs and his friend entered their portals, the combat simulation began. Inside their portal, Bai Yi, Qi Yin, and their senior supervisor Zealing were followed by a drone. Bai Yi was aware the simulation was being broadcast and that his every action was recorded. He knew he had to control himself and not reveal all his trump cards, especially when facing unknown threats, thinking of the gods who were watching. His reason for choosing this challenge was clear. The Spirit Jade dungeon held something he desperately needed. The team arrived in a dark forest, standing on a cliff's edge. At their feet were the remains of a thorny vine, glowing with faint green energy, evidence of their first victory. Zealing confidently stepped between Bai Yi and Qi Yin. He told them not to worry, as he would protect them, boasting he had experience clearing even unsealed D-class dungeons with other powerful Awakened. As they went deeper into the forest, Qi Yin asked Zealing how strong the monsters in a D-class dungeon were. He explained their levels range from E5 to D5. However, since the school's dungeons have their strongest beasts sealed, it was unlikely they'd face a true D-class monster, and there wouldn't be a boss. He added with a grin that they shouldn't underestimate high-level E-class monsters, as their attack power and speed can be strong. He reminded them that as new students, they were still just small fries, and Qi Yin nodded in understanding. Zealing then turned to Qi Yin, promising to find low-level monsters for them to farm points and assuring her he wouldn't let her get hurt. As he was speaking, he noticed Bai Yi had walked far ahead, a strange green aura glowing around him. Zealing paused, puzzled by Bai Yi's action. He called out, warning Bai Yi not to run so far ahead in case he angered a monster. Bai Yi stopped and turned back, bluntly telling Zealing he was being too noisy, which left the senior speechless. With a confident smirk and glowing eyes, Bai Yi told Zealing to just stay back, as his help wouldn't be needed. Zealing and Qi Yin could only stare as Bai Yi continued ahead, taking the lead. The view shifted to the livestream camera, showing the trio as the official broadcast for this year's combat simulation began. Back at the academy, large screens were set up for students and staff to watch the combat simulation live streams, showing the progress of the teams in the dungeons. The scene then shifts to a private room with a plaque that reads, "Ultimate School Team." Inside, a young man with green hair, the team's vice captain, was on a call. He urged the person he called captain to watch the broadcast, mentioning it was interesting this year. With a smirk, he pointed out that a junior student had chosen to challenge a D-class dungeon. A woman's voice responded, her face hidden in shadow, asking what profession the student had awakened as. The vice captain explained that this was the most fascinating part. The student was a nuclear warrior, one of the worst professions available. Intrigued by this reckless confidence, the mysterious captain stated that she wanted to watch and see what gave this student such audacity. The story shifts to show the other student teams in their own challenges. In a sealed F-class dungeon, Specs was panicking, screaming for the monsters to stay away while waving a tambourine. His team was battling F-class flame bats and fierce bats, with his teammates in close combat while he provided support from the back. A senior student supervising his team told him not to be so tense, reminding him his role was to provide buffs from a safe distance. Specs, however, was still terrified, exclaiming how frightening even the lowest-level F-class monsters were. Meanwhile, in a sealed E-class dungeon, the threat was greater. Teams were facing packs of fierce fangs, wolf-like beasts crackling with elemental energy. Hong Qinsheng's team was struggling, with several members wounded on the ground. A healer tended to one of the injured, asking if he was all right. Seeing his team in trouble, a determined Hong declared that if they couldn't handle it, he would take on the beasts himself. Fueled by his rivalry, he charged at a fierce fang, shouting that he would absolutely surpass Bai Yi. A red status window appeared as he struck, showing a skill that boosted his strength, critical hit rate, and lifesteal, pushing him to his limit. The scene cuts back to the sealed D-class dungeon where Bai Yi had just unleashed a powerful attack, a green slash of energy cutting through the air. He stood calmly, surrounded by the bloody corpses of several fierce beasts. System notifications confirmed his kills, with each E-class monster granting him 30 experience points. His teammates, Ziling and Qi Yin, watched from a distance in disbelief, their supervisor stammering as he asked how Bai Yi had possibly done it. Before he could answer, a new threat appeared. 2 massive, multi-eyed spider monsters crawling toward them. Unfazed, Bai Yi simply explained to Qi Yin that the monsters here were sealed and had only half of their power, which was why they weren't too difficult to handle. Qi Yin, still in awe while watching him wield the large blade from his father's safe, argued that even at half strength, he had fought many opponents at once. She admitted that she was still a long way from reaching his level. As he turned to face the next challenge, Bai Yi told her it was pointless to compare herself to others. With a calm and focused expression, he advised her to concentrate on improving herself. Amused by Bai Yi's blunt words, Qi Yin smiled brightly, clutching her spellbook as she declared that she would do her best. Ziling, however, watched from the side with a scowl, fuming that this arrogant junior was stealing the spotlight. He stepped forward, trying to reassert his authority by reminding Bai Yi that this was a D-class dungeon and he shouldn't get overconfident. Patting Bai Yi's hair condescendingly, Ziling acknowledged his performance was good for a first-timer, but warned him that this dungeon had 3 caverns and wouldn't be so easy. He began to give tactical advice, ordering Qi Yin to deal with monsters from the right. Without pause, Bai Yi interrupted, stating that he would take the left side, leaving Ziling flustered and ignored. The team now stood in a large cavern with the bodies of defeated beasts. Before them, the path split into 2 tunnels, and at the far end of the cavern, a massive, glowing red magical seal pulsed. As Bai Yi ignored him and spoke directly to Qi Yin, Ziling's frustration grew. Bai Yi asked Qi Yin if she could handle the lower-level monsters on the right path by herself. Sidelined, Ziling could only watch, thinking how disrespectful this junior was. Bai Yi explained to Qi Yin that the purpose of the simulation was to test their individual abilities, and she needed to prove her own strength. He then asked her a simple question. Didn't she want to get a good score? That was all the motivation Qi Yin needed. Her expression became firm as she declared that she understood and could do it. With the plan set, Bai Yi walked down the left path alone, while Qi Yin and Ziling took the right. Watching Bai Yi's back as he left, Ziling's face twisted with rage. Muttering a curse, he decided that if Bai Yi wouldn't learn the easy way, he would have to be taught a lesson the hard way. In a flash of golden light, he summoned a glowing bow, his intentions clearly turning malicious. Back in the viewing room, the teachers and students were watching Bai Yi's live feed in amazement. Screenshots from the drone footage showed him single-handedly taking down hordes of E-class monsters. One viewer exclaimed that it was incredible how many beasts Bai Yi had already defeated. A teacher asked what his current level was, and another replied that his official report still listed him as E1, though his real level was unclear. The group guessed he must be at least E3, or maybe even E4 by now. Meanwhile, Bai Yi was facing the giant spider monsters on his path. The teacher who had supervised the awakening ceremony explained to his colleagues that Bai Yi's decision to send Qi Yin to the right wasn't random. He had smartly observed the elemental matchups, sending the flower element user, Qi Yin, to face the stellar element monsters, giving her a natural advantage. The teacher praised Bai Yi's smart decisions and impressive tactical awareness, even during a high-pressure test. Recalling Bai Yi's promise not to disappoint him, the teacher smiled with pride, realizing the boy wasn't just bragging. He looked at the screen with interest, wondering what else his student would do. The scene then confirmed the teacher's analysis from Bai Yi's point of view. He had indeed noticed earlier that the stellar-type beasts were mostly coming from the right-hand cave. Knowing they were also a lower level, it was the perfect challenge for Qi Yin, who had the elemental advantage. Following her path, Qi Yin found herself facing a massive, beetle-like monster with glowing purple markings. The creature charged at her fiercely. Reacting quickly, she slammed her hand to the ground and cast a spell, shouting, "Vine Wall!" Thick, thorny vines shot up from the earth, wrapping around the monster and holding it. Despite the successful spell, Qi Yin's face showed great effort and determination as she prepared her next attack, screaming for another wave. With another fierce cry, Qi Yin commanded the thorny vines to tighten. They squeezed the massive beetle monster, crushing its shell, drawing blood, and inflicting a deadly poison effect. The creature fell, defeated. A system notification confirmed her successful kill of the E-class starbug and awarded her 30 experience points. Chi-Yin clenched her fist in triumph. Her face lit up with pride as she exclaimed that she had done it again. From the entrance of his own path, Bai Yi had been watching her progress. He noted that mages, even at the E-class level, already have their basic class skills. In Chi-Yin's case, it was the ability to create a poisonous wall using plants, a skill known as Vine Wall. Bai Yi was genuinely impressed. For her first time in a dungeon, she was very calm while facing monsters stronger than herself. She also had the tactical sense to use her wall skill not just for defense, but to trap the monster and create a smaller kill zone. He concluded that she definitely had a natural talent for combat. Having confirmed she could handle her side, Bai Yi turned his full attention to the massive, glowing red seal at the end of his cavern. Flames of 5 different elements flickered around it, and he figured the dungeon's sealed D-class monsters must be behind it. With Chi-Yin handling the beasts on her path, he was free to focus on his own, more dangerous goal. As he approached the seal, Bai Yi considered his strategy. He was confident he could get a high score while hiding his true strength, even with the drones broadcasting his every move. However, he needed to carefully plan his next step, especially with such a powerful seal in front of him. Meanwhile, watching from the entrance to Chi-Yin's path, Zealing was furious. He couldn't believe the nerve of these juniors, who were completely ignoring his authority. Deciding that if they were so confident, he would show them a real challenge, his eyes fell on the magical seal in the main cavern. In an instant, he appeared behind Chi-Yin. Drawing his golden bow, he aimed not at a monster, but at the ground in front of her. With a malicious grin, he declared that they should try this, and unleashed a bright arrow of light. The arrow struck the earth with explosive force, narrowly missing Chi-Yin but blasting a deep, dark hole in the ground. Chi-Yin spun around, confused by the sudden attack. Zealing, pretending to be innocent, casually asked why she had dodged, claiming he was just trying to help her by adding a buff. But from the new pit, a menacing growl echoed, and the glowing shape of a massive creature emerged. Before Chi-Yin could react, a ferocious, two-headed lion leaped from the chasm, charging at her with terrifying speed. A system window identified the beast as a level 11, D-class twin-headed violent lion. The sudden appearance of such a powerful, unsealed monster left Chi-Yin frozen in terror. Sensing the sudden surge of powerful demonic energy, Bai Yi immediately spun around, his attention drawn to the noise on Chi-Yin's path. The twin-headed lion, now fully emerged, roared as its body burst into flames. Reacting on instinct, Chi-Yin threw her hands forward, desperately trying to hold the beast with her thorny vines. However, the lion's intense fire was too powerful, easily burning through and snapping the vines. With its path cleared, the beast lunged, its massive jaws wide open and ready to devour her. Frozen in terror, Chi-Yin could only think it was over. From a safe distance, Zealing watched with a cruel grin, drawing his bow once more as if to add to the chaos. But just as the lion was about to strike, Bai Yi activated his Accelerate skill, a notification confirming a temporary 50% increase in his speed. He shot forward in a blur, intercepting the fiery beast mid-lunge. The sudden move caught Zealing completely by surprise. In a split second, Bai Yi shoved Chi-Yin out of the way. Pushing his speed to its limit, he triggered the flash blink effect, allowing him to phase through the lion's attack and land a devastating blow on its head. The powerful strike sent the massive creature reeling backward as Bai Yi landed gracefully, placing himself between the monster and a stunned Chi-Yin. Now standing defensively with his large blade, Bai Yi was surprised by the D-class monster's incredible speed, realizing this would be a difficult fight. Zealing watched the chaos with a twisted grin, thinking he knew this dungeon inside and out. He was aware that while most D-class monsters were sealed, there was always one leaked twin-headed lion that would spawn. He gloated to himself, convinced that no matter how arrogant these rookies were, they stood no chance against a true D-class monster. His sinister plan was revealed as he thought about the final detail. The lion had been enhanced by his own skills. A glowing red status window appeared over the enraged beast, confirming Zealing's trick. The lion was in a light arrow state, its gravity reduced, and its damage and speed massively increased. Zealing mentally called it the fastest twin-headed lion. Another status window showed the lion was also berserk, granting it another 10% attack and 50% speed boost. Facing this impossibly strong foe, Bai Yi's expression turned grim. Clutching the dagger from his father's safe, he wondered if he would be forced to reveal his full strength to survive. Turning to Qi Yin, he told her to retreat to a safe distance, saying this was a monster she could not handle. Qi Yin looked on with frustration and anger at herself, cursing her hesitation from moments before. The massive, flame-covered twin-headed lion leaped into the air, hurtling directly towards Bai Yi and Qi Yin. Just as Bai Yi prepared to face it alone, Qi Yin, her face full of fierce determination, thrust her hand forward and shouted her spell, "Vine Wall!" In an instant, thick, thorny vines shot up from the ground, catching the lion midair and wrapping tightly around its body. Not letting up, Qi Yin poured more power into her spell, screaming for another layer. With a final roar, she unleashed a triple-layered vine wall, completely trapping the fiery beast and temporarily stopping its attack. Bai Yi looked on, surprised by her sudden display of power. Turning to him, Qi Yin asked if she could join him in the fight, promising not to hold him back. She declared that even though it was a D-class monster, she wanted to face it with him. From the sidelines, Xiling watched in disbelief, wondering if the girl had lost her mind since she had almost been eaten just moments ago. A small smile touched Bai Yi's lips as he commented on how quickly she had adjusted, admitting he thought she would have been paralyzed with fear. Qi Yin responded with new confidence, stating that she had worked too hard to be defeated here. Now standing side by side, they prepared to face the restrained D-class monster together, ready for the real battle to begin. Looking at Bai Yi with a confident smile, Qi Yin said she trusted him completely, stating that with him by her side, she knew she wouldn't die. Bai Yi, always practical, immediately cautioned her, reminding her she had used a lot of power on the triple-layered skill and that her energy was limited. Qi Yin simply replied that she knew. This exchange made Bai Yi remember Qi Yin from his previous life. Even back then, she had been a star in their middle school. A flashback showed a younger Qi Yin confidently introducing herself to the class, declaring her dream was to join the Divine Guild and become a divine priest. Bai Yi remembered her as a confident, optimistic, and kind girl. Despite coming from a powerful family, she was always friendly and served responsibly as their class president. He had lost track of her later in his past life and assumed she lived an ordinary life, but in this timeline, he knew one thing for sure: she was someone he could trust. With this reliable ally by his side, Bai Yi felt confident he could pass the assessment while still hiding the true extent of his powers. However, Xiling, watching from the sidelines, scoffed at their new teamwork. He sneered, thinking they were fools to believe they could handle the beast, pointing out that the vine wall wouldn't hold it for more than a few seconds. Real combat wasn't won on confidence alone, he thought angrily, convinced that with their little strength, they had no chance against the enhanced D-class monster he had unleashed. With a cruel smirk, Xiling decided to wait. He would let them struggle and fail, and only when they were desperate enough to beg for his help would he step in. At that moment, he would teach them a harsh lesson about respecting their elders. Just as this thought crossed his mind, the twin-headed lion let out a final, earth-shaking roar and, with a massive surge of power, completely shattered the vines that were holding it. With the enraged beast now free, Bai Yi quickly made a plan. He told Qi Yin he would lure the lion, identifying it as a nuclear type, and told her to watch for the perfect moment to strike. Qi Yin immediately understood. With a shout, they split apart, baiting the fiery lion into a reckless charge. Bai Yi knew that since he had been the one to injure it, the beast's anger would be focused entirely on him. He deliberately led the enraged creature toward a large body of water at the edge of the cavern. Without hesitation, he dove in, and the lion, blinded by its fury, plunged in right after him. Underwater, Bai Yi used his incredible speed to move around the now clumsy, waterlogged beast. Finding the perfect opening as the lion struggled in the unfamiliar environment, he shouted to Qi Yin that now was the time. Responding instantly to his signal, Qi Yin cast her Vine Wall spell just as the lion emerged from the water. The soaking wet beast, its fiery aura gone, was completely trapped by the thorny vines. It roared in frustration, but its power was clearly reduced. With a fierce look of concentration, Qi Yin commanded the vines to constrict. The plan worked perfectly. The water had neutralized the lion's fiery abilities and disrupted its nuclear core. System notifications confirmed that its berserk and nuclear states had failed, leaving it poisoned and unable to struggle free. As Bai Yi emerged from the water and landed on the shore beside her, he confidently held his large blade ready. He declared that the beast could no longer escape, and it was time for them to end the test and claim the highest score. From his hiding spot, Xiling watched the scene, his face full of disbelief. He couldn't understand how a single layer of vines had trapped the powerful lion, especially since he would have struggled against the beast himself, and he had even enhanced its power. He could only stare and curse in frustration. Meanwhile, back in the viewing room, the teachers and staff were analyzing the brilliant strategy. One instructor explained the simple logic. Luring the nuclear-type lion into the water nullified its core skills, while strengthening Qi Yin's flower-type abilities. Bai Yi's teacher praised him for his excellent reactions and leadership, noting how he used basic elemental counters and teamwork to defeat a much stronger monster. The staff concluded that the top spot was now decided. Only the final blow remained. They excitedly discussed that once the footage was submitted to the guild, Bai Yi had a real chance of getting the highest score in the Academy's history. But just as they awaited the final strike, the live feed suddenly went black. The viewers were left confused, wondering why the broadcast would stop at such a crucial moment. Back in the dungeon, the reason was clear. The recording drone lay shattered and smoking on the ground. Zealing stood nearby, a cruel smirk on his face and a glowing energy bow in his hand. He thought that without video evidence, Bai Yi could forget about getting the highest score. With the threat eliminated, a system notification confirmed their victory over the level 11 D-class beast, awarding them 100 experience points. Bai Yi complimented Qi Yin, telling her it was thanks to her abilities. She modestly replied she only succeeded because she followed his instructions. However, Bai Yi corrected her, explaining it was her own dedicated training that had built up enough elemental resistance, which let her use a single skill so powerfully. Qi Yin looked at him, puzzled, repeating elemental resistance, as if hearing it for the first time. Just then, a disgruntled Xiling emerged from hiding. He condescendingly told them that now that the boss was defeated, they could save their chatting for outside. Bai Yi and Qi Yin simply turned to face him with cold, unimpressed stares. Zealing told them that he had enough of their supervisor's games. Bai Yi coldly confronted Zealing, asking if he knew the grave danger he put them in by setting an enhanced D-class monster on new students. Zealing, turning away, tried to deflect blame, claiming he intended to buff Qi Yin, but she had dodged. Bai Yi immediately cut him off, stating his skills must be pathetic if he couldn't even aim properly. With a piercing glare, Bai Yi questioned how he could call himself an archer with such poor aim. Qi Yin, now equally angry, joined in, remarking it was no wonder he couldn't get into the ultimate school team. Furious at their insults, Xiling spun around, his energy bow flaring as he asked what they had just said. Without flinching, Bai Yi stepped in front of Qi Yin, ready to block any attack. Overwhelmed by their defiance, Xiling's anger seemed to deflate into resentment. He slowly lowered his hand, muttering that the road ahead was long. Turning his back, he gave a final threat, telling them to just wait before storming off towards the dungeon's exit. After he was gone, Bai Yi and Qi Yin walked over to the wrecked drone Zealing had destroyed. Qi Yin, fuming, commented on their senior's terrible personality. She then noticed Bai Yi examining the broken machine and asked what he was doing. Bai Yi explained their supervisor had destroyed the camera to stop them from getting a high score. Since no one could see them, Zealing would have to leave and get a new drone. Bai Yi then pointed out that everyone else was far away in their own dungeons, which gave them plenty of time. With a small, calculating smile, Bai Yi remarked that Zealing had actually done them a favor. He now had the perfect chance to do the rest of the things he had planned. Qi Yin could only stare at him with wide-eyed confusion, asking what he meant and what he was planning to do. Bai Yi led Qi Yin back to the central cavern, stopping in front of the massive, pulsing red seal that held the dungeon's strongest monsters. Turning to her, he asked if she could promise to keep what was about to happen a secret, adding with a smile that no one would believe her anyway. Qi Yin, confused and alarmed, stammered as she asked what he was planning. The scene then flashed back to the alleyway confrontation between Bai Yi and Hong Qiansheng. Bai Yi's deal was revealed. In exchange for helping him get stronger, Hong had to give him the unsealing demon stone that his uncle, the dean, had. Back in the present, Bai Yi held that very stone, a shimmering crystal with glowing runes. He then revealed his true, audacious goal. He was going to use the stone to completely unseal the Spirit Jade dungeon. He placed the crystal on the central altar, and a powerful, dark red energy immediately began to swirl around him. Qi Yin panicked, screaming that he couldn't do that. She reminded him it was a D-class dungeon, and if he broke the seal, all the high-level monsters would be released at once. As the dark energy intensified, threatening to shatter the seal, Bai Yi calmly told her not to worry, explaining the monster's power would still be partly suppressed by the seal's remaining energy. Qi Yin was not convinced, arguing that even so, There was no way the two of them could handle that many D-class monsters. "It won't take two people," Bai Yi stated calmly. As he spoke, a red string bracelet on his wrist began to glow, and a powerful fiery aura erupted around him. Qi Yin could only stare, stammering in utter shock as she witnessed the impossible. Bai Yi stood before her, no longer a warrior, but a mage, holding a glowing staff and surrounded by magical energy. Qi Yin's eyes went wide as she screamed, asking how he could possibly be a mage. As a powerful red aura surrounds him, Bai Yi tells a surprised Qi Yin to stay near the exit for safety. Instantly, the magical chains holding the beasts shatter with a loud crash, and three ferocious, flame-covered lions break free and charge toward them. Terrified, Qi Yin yells for Bai Yi to be careful, reaching out a hand as if to protect him. However, Bai Yi remains calm and faces the approaching beasts. Holding his staff, he summons cloud elemental power as the lions roar. A system notification confirms he has switched to his E-class Cloud Element Mage profession. With a determined look, he unleashes his spell, and a powerful wave of icy energy swirls around the charging beasts. Qi Yin watches in disbelief, realizing Bai Yi has a red profession, a very high rank. She thinks to herself how hard it was for her to control just one lion, and yet Bai Yi controlled all three at once, completely freezing them in a massive block of ice. As they both look at the trapped beasts, Bai Yi explains that after being sealed for so long, it was expected they would all come out at once. With an intense gaze, he adds that he will need a bigger area for what he plans to do next. Understanding her role, Qi Yin clenches her fists and agrees to Bai Yi's plan, quickly retreating to a safe distance. From the broken seal, a new wave of fiery, panther-like beasts emerges, their paws thundering across the ground as they charge forward with glowing red eyes. A much larger and more intimidating monster, a D-class fierce flame leopard, appears and towers over Bai Yi. Bai Yi confronts the beast head-on. He assesses the situation, noting that while the monsters are D-class, their strength has been cut in half from being sealed for so long. As a mage, he uses his ice-forming skill, a technique that turns moisture in the air into solid ice to control enemies. He thinks to himself that his first step is to restrain all of them. As the giant shadow of a beast looms over him, Bai Yi decides it's time to change tactics. A system notification appears, and he switches his profession back to nuclear warrior, preparing for a direct assault. Now in his nuclear warrior form, Bai Yi dodges a powerful lunge from a D-class fire sword beast, a green aura flaring around him as he narrowly avoids its attack. With a confident smirk, he internally mocks the beast for trying a sneak attack on him. As another fiery beast charges, Bai Yi activates a skill, disappearing in a flash of green energy, just as the monster strikes where he once stood. In a brilliant display of power, he instantly reappears, having switched back to his Cloud Element Mage profession, staff in hand, and ready to cast another spell. A close-up reveals one of the beasts completely encased in jagged, cracked ice. Watching from a safe distance, Qi Yin is stunned, wondering how he can switch between professions so freely. It is in this moment that she has a profound realization. Seeing him fight now, she finally understands why he insisted on training in the element room. He was practicing his elemental resistance. She reflects on her own magic, realizing she used to believe strength came from raw power and casting spells often. However, after watching Bai Yi's masterful display, she understands that true strength lies in controlling one's power. Qi Yin thinks about how elemental power comes from nature and is wild and difficult to tame. She now sees that only by gaining complete control over one's elemental power can a person unlock more versatile and powerful techniques. She watches in awe as Bai Yi manipulates the ice he created, turning a basic skill into a weapon and launching shards at the trapped beasts. A spark of understanding and determination glows in Qi Yin's eye. Bai Yi stands calmly. Before him, the entire horde of monsters is trapped, wounded, and defeated within his ice constructs, a testament to his incredible skill. Qi Yin can only look on, amazed that he has already mastered his abilities so completely. Watching Bai Yi's absolute mastery, Qi Yin lowers her head and clenches her fist, a shadow falling over her face. She thinks to herself that he has already left all of them far behind. However, as she reflects on his power, her look of despair softens into a gentle, blushing smile. She admits to herself that he is incredibly cool. Just then, the ground begins to tremble from a massive, thundering footstep. From the depths of the cave emerges the dungeon's true final boss, the Spirit Jade Demon Cave Lord, a colossal D-class fierce mammoth with glowing red eyes and a dark, menacing aura. A status window confirms its level and notes its attributes are halved because it is still in a sealed state. While any other student would be terrified, Bai Yi looks on with intense, glowing eyes, completely unfazed. He thinks to himself that the beast has finally appeared, revealing he had been expecting it. The mammoth lets out a roar and charges forward, leaping over the ice constructs that held the other defeated monsters. In response, Bai Yi is surrounded by a swirl of green energy as he switches back to his nuclear warrior class. He declares internally that the very thing he needs is on this beast. He stands his ground, ready for a final confrontation as the massive creature barrels toward him. In a stunning display of speed and power, Bai Yi leaps into the air and delivers a precise, powerful strike to a vital point on the mammoth's forehead, landing a critical hit that draws blood. Bai Yi drives his glowing green dagger deep into the mammoth's tough hide, drawing blood with his powerful strike. He lands gracefully as the colossal beast recoils, now bleeding from several wounds. With a grim expression and blood on his face, Bai Yi internally notes that this sealed level 15 mammoth is weaker than the level 10 monkey boss he fought before. Roaring in pain, the wounded mammoth thrashes its massive head and charges at Bai Yi in a blind fury, its powerful stomp cracking the ground beneath it. Undeterred, Bai Yi moves with incredible speed, unleashing a relentless series of attacks and landing multiple critical hits on the beast's vital points. Overwhelmed by the assault, the mammoth finally stumbles, its massive body beginning to fall. Sensing victory, a new power awakens within Bai Yi. His eye begins to glow with a brilliant golden light, and he is suddenly surrounded by a powerful fiery aura. Holding his dagger ready, he prepares to unleash a devastating final attack. Activating his title, 1 against 100, Bai Yi unleashes his ultimate skill, Sanctuary. A massive, horizontal wave of golden energy erupts from him, sweeping through the cavern and engulfing the mammoth and every other monster in its path. The colossal mammoth can only roar in terror as the overwhelming power washes over it. The attack is so powerful that it not only hits the final boss, but also destroys the other beasts still trapped in Bai Yi's ice constructs, instantly killing them. A flood of system notifications appears, confirming the defeat of multiple D-class monsters, twin-headed lions, fierce flame leopards, and fire sword beasts, awarding him hundreds of experience points for each kill. The final notifications confirm the defeat of the level 15 D-class fierce mammoth, which grants him a massive 1,000 experience points. He also loots valuable materials, including fiery beast bones and a high-grade material called the Jade Tooth, used for forging E-class nuclear weapons. Standing in the now-cleared dungeon, Bai Yi holds a crescent of pure golden energy in his hand. His personal status screen is displayed, showing a significant increase in experience across his flower, cloud, nuclear, and stellar elemental bars. With his objective seemingly complete, he casually dismisses the golden energy with a flick of his wrist and turns to leave. As he walks away, he looks down and sees a peculiar item left behind where the mammoth's body vanished, a pink, yin-yang shaped stone. A system notification identifies the item as the responsive jade stone, a pair of jade stones with a special function. Staring at the precious object, Bai Yi thinks to himself that he has finally obtained it, revealing this was his true goal for unsealing the dungeon all along.